Welcome back, everyone, to another fantastic episode of I'm going to talk and you're going to listen. And Chance Paladin here. And I've got kind of a couple of I've got a housekeeping thing, and then I got a couple video game things. And then 50-50, we're going to talk about either Civil War or World War III. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. We'll see how far we get. It's currently 12:30 a.m. So I was gonna say it's nice and quiet, and then a car drove by a second later. So I'm never sure if I have the mic exactly where I like it. Let me get just a little more comfy first here. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully this volume's good. I always want to move the mic, but it doesn't quite ever work the way I want. Told myself when I moved in here I was gonna get a new boom mic, a new podcast mic, everything. And then that was before we got scammed on our home loan and blew through almost every penny we had to get here. Anyway, so that's why it's still kind of janky. Someday though, right? Okay, so housekeeping. Fanny 2 has begun. If you're in the bunker tier of the coffee page, you've got to jump start on that. Interest has waned to, I think, 0 maybe on let's look really quick on the what are those called, on the homestead updates. So let's see if anybody watched my last homestead update. One person, but it may be misreading that as me. Those homestead updates, for those of you on the coffee side, those take a massive amount of time for me to edit and put together, record, edit, and put together, and for nobody to watch them or nobody to comment or say anything, and then to still get the same questions is kind of frustrating. So I was doing that for all the folks that helped got me here, and if people aren't interested anymore, then I can just hold off, I guess, until somebody's interested, because those are a lot of work. To edit a half an hour long homestead update takes hours and hours of recording, more to upload, more to edit, and then more to upload. They take somewhere between like 4 to 6 plus hours to do like a 30-minute homestead update video. BRB. Alright, sorry about that. I hear things crashing around, but all the cats are laying down, so just making sure they weren't getting into the plants. So anyway, enough whining about that. Yeah, so let me get into the video game stuff in case there's people here for just that. It's so hard to gauge what to talk about. So video game things. Broken Roads has, I hear clicking around and stuff in there. That's weird. House makes weird noises. Fridge, I don't know. Anyway, Broken Roads launched for Steam and GOG, and I think maybe some of the consoles. Pretty ambitious for them to release them all at once, but they've been working on this game for a long time. The Aussie developer, not sure if they've done any games before, but anyway, it's like a pointy, clicky, turn-based, kind of like narrative, huge narrative with some RPG and combat elements with tons of choices, which is just my favorite thing in the world. So I was, a massive fan of Shadowrun Returns and Dead State for any of you. Well, none of you have been with this channel for that long, but I'm just gonna pretend. So I've been chomping at the bit at this game for years. If you're wondering why I haven't uploaded any gameplay yet, it's just because nobody on this channel anymore I think cares about me uploading gameplay of anything. But also, I don't have fiber yet, which means even, like a 45-minute to an hour-long video that's like decent bit rate and frame rate takes somewhere in the realm of like 4 to 6 hours. It's just really super slow. So kind of unfortunate timing. And so I'm thinking of more of like putting kind of a review together for it. Broken Roads again, if you want to check it out if you like. If you like narrative, and then with a little bit of like RPG and turn-based elements, and you like, quirky, Australian humor and stuff, like this game is right up your alley. Tons of different decisions that go all different ways, and the reason why I'm bringing it up though is that somehow, some way, someone did like an early review of the game where they either sped read through the whole game or they skipped the dialogue entirely just by clicking through it. And they got through the game way faster than the developer intended, which is to me the equivalent of just like kind of like flip booking, like fanning a book and then putting it down and saying you read a book in a couple minutes. That started these guys. This rips my heart out. These guys have been working on this game for years. They pushed it back 4 months to polish it. The game is really polished. I don't know, I'm like 4 hours in or something. It's the dialogue and everything and the stories and the characters and the choices and decisions, it's all really polished. And I could tell they spent a lot of time making sure the dialogue and plot points and everything actually like click together, not, stuff just like gets orphaned and forgot about or just like broken down the line. Like a certain other game, TOR. And I mean, like, I kept forgetting I'm playing it and kept thinking I was playing like Dead State or Shadowrun. Like I'm just loving every second of this game. And it's exactly what I thought it would be, but there's people that are just this one person did like a really nasty review, and everybody with an opinion, I'm not sure how many of them were even going to play the game to begin with, without playing the game at all, review bombed it. And I'll tell you what it's sitting at here in a minute. I'll pull it up. This is all unscripted, as you know. I have kind of like an outline, and that's it. But this is mostly free thought that I free consciousness, stream of consciousness, or whatever. So I take very little responsibility for, none of this is medical, dental, any advice about anything. And Broken Roads, I have 3.5 hours into it. How do I find that? Man, I hate Steam so much. I'm gonna pause this and find where the stupid reviews are. Oh, okay. Okay, this is actually kind of cool. It the reviews have gone up, so it's actually sitting at mixed now, and mixed is not bad. 44% of the 129 users reviewed this game are positive. So, well, that could be maybe they got the mods involved, and maybe they wiped everybody who had 0 on the game. Which I think review bombing is disgusting. No matter how horrible a company is or how much they deserve it, I think review bombing is disgusting. I think that I think that people should have an outlet to voice their opinions, but I think it should be directed where it's applicable. The problem is a lot of times you can't. Censorship is like really bad. Places where speech should not be censored absolutely oftentimes are. But the Broken Roads drop bear, they did nothing wrong. They didn't misrepresent their game. People were complaining that it was like a tiny bit too expensive for an indie game, which I don't know, somewhere between like $30 for like a $20-30 for a pointy clicky strategy game. To me, that's a steal. I would have paid more, to be honest. But they based it all off this 7 hours thing, and I could like sense the devastation in their tweets and their comments and their narrative and everything turned from just like absolute elation that they were releasing their game into the world to just defeat off of just this one review that just kick-started just this a whole day of just nasty toxicity. And it broke my heart to watch them have to go through that, especially when there are so many games out there that are unmitigated dog shit, fan servicey, fan made essentially games with mechanics that nobody asked for, that are derivatives of existing IPs, sequel bait garbage. There's just so much, like so many what I call dog shit games out there that do so well because everybody has decided what I call toxic positivity, where they decide to just arbitrarily build a game up and make it seem like the best game ever when it's not. Games like Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, dog shit game. The graphics are eye cancer. The responsiveness is bad. There's essentially no replay. It's not a fun game for more than maybe like an hour or two. You're paying full price for a game that's an hour. Oh well, it's fun with friends, replay, co-op. It's like, but it's eye cancer. Yeah, there's so many problems with it. And this new Contra is just like an extension of that. And Metroid Dread, which is like one of the highest reviewed games of all time, just shit fan game mechanics that nobody asked for. Resident Evil 4 remake, while I applaud them for nearly remaking the entire game, it has mechanics that nobody asked for. The graphics are dog shit. They didn't do the one cool thing they could have done, which is make the game co-op. You know, it's not a faithful recreation. It improves on a handful of small details that, an indie developer and, a small studio given full free reign could have made, a perfect 1-to-1 with some updates and some co-op. And instead we just Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 remake, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, just 5 dog shit games in a row. I liked Resident Evil 3 remake, but I mean, what, 30-40% of the content was cut because they didn't bust it out into teams like they did with Resident Evil 4 remake. Or I think which is, I think, how they were able to do Resident Evil 6. They broke it into 4 teams, I think. So that was good on them, but like, they added mechanics that nobody, and blah blah blah. The point is, like, you've got all these games. There's so many more. I can't even think of them all. I tried to list them today, and it just disgusted me. And then you have all these compilations that they put together that don't have all the games. The Sonic compilations that don't have Chaotix. The Contra that doesn't have Rebirth. Castlevania that doesn't have Rondo. Mega Man that doesn't have Mega Man X Street Fighter. It's just on and on and on and on and on. With just all these just soulless cash grabs. And then a developer comes around and tries to make a fun game with a narrative and, an idea that's, who doesn't like Mad Maxy kind of style, like Australian dystopian post-apocalypse. Like, it's a great game. The ambience, the music, like the voice acting, like, it's all there. I keep hearing like popping in the other room, but it's like really psyching me out. So, yeah, I'm gonna go take another break and try to figure out what's making that popping noise, because it's super distracting me and all the cats are asleep. I think it's just getting really, really cold, which is making the house make popping noises. So yeah, if you like, if there are any of you still here that are here from some of my original content, which is kind of indie startup games that deserve a chance, check out Broken Roads. It's on Steam and GOG. In my opinion, it's affordable compared to these $70, $80, $90 games with DLC and season pass and stuff. It's like, take a break for a couple coffees and go grab it. If you like narrative, anyway, if you like narratives and stuff and top-down isometric, with a little bit of combat and RPG elements, you'll really like it. I wish I had more time to play it. Just everything's piling up on me like crazy. So thing number 2, video game thing number 2, Sungrand Studios is really struggling, and I was talking to him about kind of this whole thing too. This over both of these things happened at the same time, and that's usually a key indicator for me to talk about it. He also got screwed by a reviewer early on, and people are still legit like pretty cruel to him. I see it down in the comments sometimes, and it's so disheartening to see developers that pour their heart and soul into a game go through this bullshit. And so he's going to stop working on the Silver Falls series because it's not cost cost competitive. It's not sustaining his bills. And that's really sad. His Breath of Thunder game didn't get kickstarted. Yeah, and so he's really struggling right now. Kind of my suggestion to him is if he could get at least get 3 Down Stars ported to PC. I think that would be really cool. I would play the hell out of that. I absolutely love that game. It was like early Resident Evil, early Silent Hill. Kind of over the shoulder, kind of survival horror. Loved it. I've played it 2 or 3 times now, I think, at least giant chunks of the way through. Love the hell out of it. If he could get it like 30 FPS, like 60 FPS on like a computer, holy shit, that would be sick. So I'm trying to get him to do that. I don't know if he's gonna actually do it or not. But Sungrand Studios, he makes really fun games. He pours his heart out. He does tons and tons of homebrew stuff for pretty much every system that's ever been created, which is nuts. And people should be rewarded for their hard work and making things that people say they want. And he's yet another victim of, I think, the fact that negative reviewing, negative content, content where the primary content's like negativity, where you're shitting on somebody and ripping them apart, just does like so much better. And it's why I've really kind of gone out of my way to try to make this podcast not be negative, even though it's really hard for me personally because I do get frustrated. But not but the problem is like usually most of the content's positive. On YouTube, that's how the algorithm works. And then when you need to be critical of something, if everyone is being overwhelmingly positive, the algorithm promotes positive stuff and it gets rid of negative stuff. When the content's overwhelmingly negative, the YouTube algorithm won't promote positive stuff. So, just likewise, how if I don't say, help the channel grow by clicking that thumbs up and hitting the notification bell, the YouTube algorithm listens to that and it knows that I'm playing ball. And I don't say it because if I'm gonna grow, I'm gonna grow organically because word of mouth. And if none of you ever share this or tell anybody, I'm not gonna grow, and it's just gonna be what it is and whatever. If people don't give a shit enough to share this, or if they don't have anybody to share this with, then this just is what this is. But people who are trying to turn this into a career, or are, as Drill from Sungrand put it, I think much better than I could, his career is essentially in the hands of like streamers and journalists. Like, and me as an author, not to just make this all about me, but like, if I'm not gonna feed money to the gatekeeping machines, I also have to rely on like reviewers and word of mouth. And there are streamers that stream, writing, content, if I'm gonna make it, I have to really rely on other streamers promoting my books. There's a couple streamers that do. I love the hell out of all of you. You know who you are. You don't have to do it, and you do, and that's amazing. And the few people that do that are the real deal. But they are like 0.01%. You know, the rest of them are just sitting like fat cats. Essentially just doing straight up ads, 10-minute long ads, and the thing is, like, part of that, if they're like smaller and they're using this as their side gig, I think that's amazing, and I hope they never forget who they are. But a lot of YouTubers, where other people help them get what they are, then they just F everybody and sit there resting on their laurels for the rest of their life on their... That's disgusting to me. You're not... I'm not even gonna say like you're selling out. You're not making content anymore. You're just making ads. And you've somehow found a way to fool everybody. Meanwhile, the rest of us are actually trying to make stuff. You know, we're trying to make stuff. And I think at the heart of every good streamer is a creator that's trying to make other stuff. And there's this there's this author that I've been following for a long time, and I've brought this up before. I don't know why he's, you know, part of that 0.01% who decided to still, you know, hang out with all the rest of us plebs. And he made a funny tweet the other day. He said, he's like, I could wipe out... He said he could wipe out all of his friends that were like authors, but like not coders or whatever. And he said he would still have like 80% of his friends or something like that. And I thought about it, and I kind of didn't really like put two and two together. And I was like, wait a second. I'm an author. I wrote tons of books, and I'm a coder too. I've got like 4 or 5 video games under my belt now. That's just like, that's crazy. And I looked at the responses, and it was they were all coders or engineers. One of the guys said I wrote code for like rockets or something like that. It's like, geez. So the thing is, like, though we kind of can like sense each other out. Like, I've been watching a pair of YouTubers. I don't know if they listen to this or not, or if they want me to shout them out. Hudson, his buddy, oh crap, I almost said his name and I forgot it. Crap, my brain's drawing a blank all of a sudden. I'll think of it in a minute probably, but he plays guitar, and he's really good, and he's got like a really nice setup. Something man, crap. Why am I... Oh man, this is what happens when I stream at 1 a.m. But he plays guitar, and it's funny, the more I think about it, like Jarrell from Sungrand, he plays guitar. Well, I don't want to say he plays guitar. He plays a bunch of instruments that I don't even know the names of. They just sound amazing. Like, it's just, I don't play any instruments. I don't, but I'd like to. I try to make music on my computer with MPC beats. I've made a music album. It kind of turned out, the sound, the audio quality didn't turn out great, but I mean, I tried and it was a lot of fun. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say here is like, we're kind of all stuck in the same boat. All of us creators are stuck on the same boat, and the algorithm doesn't want us to leave. It wants us to stay in our lane, and it wants us to be beholden to streamers that are in other lanes than us. YouTube and Twitter are both like this. Like, we can't get out of this lane. We need people in other lanes to like boost that signal. And unfortunately, Twitter's just so bad with this. Like, so much of it is just like rage bait, engagement bait, and it drives just such high numbers. It's created this like outrage and like hate engine where positivity is almost manufactured marketing in and of itself, whereas like they can turn like potentially manufactured like negativity back into positivity, where they just happen to have a brand waiting to make even more money off of. And so like the really successful marketing psyop brand, whatever you want to call it, can turn these like crazy negatives into positive. But almost always at the core of this is somebody huge boosting their signal, and then they kind of like say something negative or something like bombastic to get everybody to like overreact or say the opposite enough. So like in my last podcast, I was talking about, was I talking about like a lot of the race baiting going on and stuff? But the thing that I kind of ran out of time to talk about is, for 3 days, Death to America was trending on Twitter for 3 friggin' days. And then when that wasn't trending anymore, Dearborn, which is where it happened, which there's an enclave of people who don't like America yet, are still here for whatever reason, because I guess that's cool. Meanwhile, they're mad at parents for, voicing they don't like how their kids are being taught, even though they pay into the school system. And then they had something like what happened the other day, where this bus dropped 2 special needs gals, like 7 high school gals, like 7 miles away from their house. This is what we pay for. Side note, self plug. The bus driver that did that was a contractor that has no accountability, and that is exactly what happens in my book number 17. And thankfully, these 2 girls turned out okay, and they, by an absolute ridiculous miracle, got home. But they could have easily been trafficked, and there would have been they would have just vanished into the sea of thousands of children that vanish every year. But thankfully they were okay. Anyway, side plug over. It's just, this negativity is just crazy, and this world's going to hell. And all people can do is just do this weird like negative rage bait bullshit over and over and over. they'll argue about AI for days, even though the argument's like dead. The argument's dead. The people that are complaining, and I guess this is sort of we're segueing kind of into our next away from the video game thing. So if folks want to tune out, if they're here for the video game stuff, then that's cool. Who am I kidding? Nobody's listening to this. There's probably two of you. Anyway, this AI thing, I was thinking about it more as I listened to all these morons argue about it. And most, if not all, of these people that are complaining about AI artwork for book covers don't buy books. They're not authors. And therefore, their opinion is invalid. Because if they're not buying books, they're not putting money forward for an author to be able to pay a writer, and they're not an artist, so they're not being hurt by it. And but there you go. They're just a bunch of idiots with opinions that have no. Of course, they're entitled to their opinions, but they don't have. They're not invested either way. They're just being shitbirds. And the thing is, it doesn't matter in a way because their stupid outrage that has no basis in reality or even any substantive argument in either direction. They're all helping to feed the algorithm, even though it's almost overwhelmingly negative. They're so triggered. They're so emotionally compelled to post that it just feeds the algorithm. And that was always been the thing with Facebook too, a long time ago. You had to say or do things that were just so damn outrageous that people were compelled to engage. And there's another YouTuber, Decoy Voice, who's kind of been following this for a while, talking about how people are just doing more and more outrageous things on social media for traffic. And a couple people just became multimillionaires doing it. And they can just straight up hire whoever they want to do whatever they want now, which has other challenging implications. But there's several TikTok trends and several YouTubers that, quote unquote prank, but like these pranks have just gotten so ridiculous and they've lost any semblance of anything other than just like mass disruptions. And that's what, like, there was tons of protests today too, and that's all it was just mass disruptions. Free Palestine, okay. Free Palestine, and then what? And then they'll say, oh, wipe out you know who all the way to the sea. And it's like, wait a second. So you're just calling for a full-on genocide, you just don't want to call it that. And that's kind of the problem with these. That's like what a lot of my last podcast was about. There's movements that are just thinly veiled, wiping white gals off the map, and it's disgusting. Every couple days, my Twitter algorithm will all of a sudden just pick up tons and tons of just hate and vitriol towards white women, and there'll just be like a bunch of posts. And the thing is, like, you're inciting violence to like a whole ethnicity and a whole gender that very easily mathematically be proven to be having real world effects where white women are getting attacked all the time. But if you bring that up, people will go, well, other people are getting attacked, these people and those people are getting attacked. It's like, can you not focus on the topic for like 1 second, you know? Or they'll be like, they'll be talking about Palestine and they're like, oh, you just want to go kill brown people. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, who like devolves their entire worldview to like, you want to talk about what's happening to one piece of like the culture and one piece of the identity, and they start bringing up how some other culture and some other identity is getting wiped out. It's just like, go do something about it. But oh no, you're gonna block traffic, aren't you? You're just gonna go block traffic. And yes, people have the right to protest. I even think you have the right to block traffic. That's gonna be a hot take. Here's the funny thing though. Go do that in blue cities where they voted for that stuff. I have absolutely no sympathy. Oh, someone died in the hospital, someone died in the ambulance. Like, dude, it's a blue city. They probably voted for it. So, sorry, not sorry. The other thing is that in conservatives, they don't protest in the roads, not because they don't want to get ran over, but because they don't, conservatives don't feel like they need to disrupt everything all the time. And you might go, yeah, January 6th. So I don't get to bring this up like as much as I want, but if I had more time and if it wasn't 1:15 in the morning, I wanted to talk about January 6th more, but I'll say this for now. The majority of January 6th was a bunch of normies that woke up, that woke up, and they were shoving their way around in a response to being attacked by some provocateurs. There's video of all this. There's testimony of all this. A bunch of boomers were walking around taking pictures, and they're just going to be held in jail indefinitely, well, until something happens, and hopefully they can all get released and pardoned. And some of them took plea deals that they shouldn't have taken. And taking a plea, when you're innocent, taking a plea deal is very problematic. I'm not a lawyer, this isn't legal advice, but they're still arresting more people and throwing them in the gulag for January 6th. They can't point to a single thing that most of those people did. It's just political tyranny. And so it cracks me up when people say, well, if you call people in the street, blocking the streets, terrorists, then what's going to happen when people are protesting tyranny? The words are going to be overused. It's like, there's already people that have been like indefinitely in jail for 3 years now in the gulag. And before that, there was the New York 9 that defended themselves. That was ridiculous. And just so many more examples of, groups of people who answered the call of these actual extremists. People answered the call. Why won't someone do something? Free penny, by the way. Why won't someone do something? And then people do something and then they don't like it. And I've been talking about this for years, and it's just so typical. It is so typical. And I've even had like conservative friends that were in the military. I won't say what branch they were, but they were in the military, and they thought that the people fighting back these commie terrorist groups, that people were going too far. And it's like they're trying to set cars and buildings on fire with people inside. They're throwing fire bombs at people. They're shining lasers in people's eyes and causing irreparable damage. They're shining lasers in the helicopter's eyes and stuff, like helicopter pilots' eyes and things. It's like they're beating people unconscious, and they're still beating them after that. They're executing people in the streets. Like, what? How? They're doxing people and showing up at their houses and showing up at their kids' schools and stuff. Like, what kind of response? Like, our country has become so pussified that they have made any semblance of defense at all seem extreme. And so that's why I've said in the past, like, the only thing left they have to tell us is that we're not dying fast enough. You know, they don't want us to reproduce. They don't want us to own anything. It's just like, and then we have our own side basically saying that people are just defending themselves too well, and a lot of these are like pro 2A gun, prior military, and they'll just be like, you're defending yourself too much. Or they'll see those videos and they'll be like, that they fired too many rounds to defend themselves. Or when they were fighting against that mob, they punched somebody too hard. And it's just like, you don't get it. Like, we have been in a soft civil war for 7 years now. I've lost track. And the only reason we're not wiped out yet is because they just haven't decided to go all out. And any day now, it could have been today, but today could have been a fluke. Any day now, that switch is going to flick, and they're going to just decide to go all out again. And we have to be the goody little two shoes. Conservatives, we the conservative people have to be goody little two shoes and live normal, peaceful lives. And you can't train, because, you know, if you're training, you're an extremist group now, so you can't train. You have to just, you know, farm and garden and hope and pray that you get left alone, and hope and pray that when you defend yourself, you don't get accused by defending yourself too much. And that's why I talk so much about restraint on this channel, because all of the stupidity and overreactions of people defending of I don't want to call it people defending themselves, but like I've talked about before, where, you know, there will be like a kid that, you know, chased his basketball onto somebody's lawn and then gets greased by the homeowner and shit like that. It's just like, that's disgusting. That's not self-defense. either people that have freaked themselves out to the point of mass paranoia, or people who just have a murder boner. And we live in a society with several cultures now that are incompatible. There was a dude the other day that just killed a dog right in the street that wasn't doing anything, and made up a bunch of lies as to why he did it, and killed this gal's dog. And it's just like, I don't think anything happened to him. Even after the police realized he was lying and everything, I gotta follow up on that one. Then you got squatters' rights, where they can home invade your house. They can kick their way into your house in several states, and you cannot have them removed because they'll claim squatters' rights, and they'll claim that they're a resident there. Then you got to try to evict them and prove they don't live there, which is we're living in a clown world. And we as humans have to decide what kind of future we want, and not get embroiled in stupid ass arguments like if illegals have a natural God-given human right to have a gun in a country that they aren't a citizen of. Yes, they do have a God-given right to self-defense in their own country, not our country. They're not a citizen here. They can go own their gun in their own country and go make their own country how they want their country to be, through being active in their voting systems, and then the majority of them get together and decide how they want to run things. Unfortunately, we have everyone's favorite three-letter agency that likes to go and decide how other countries are ran, to keep everything just destabilized enough to where nobody can realize what's going on. And I love them, and they're great. Just wish that they could hold off for a while and not have everybody lobbing missiles and drones at everybody else every 5 minutes. That'd be great. But they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. But yeah, you can have a Twitter thing trending for 3 days that people are chanting "Death to America," and they don't do anything about that. They don't do anything about these protesters that are binding up interstate commerce, which I swear would be like a federal crime. To just beach tons of vehicles on the freeway. I don't know. How is that not like a federal crime? It's the same thing with assaulting post office employees. I'm sickened at how many post office employees are getting attacked, and their vehicles and stuff being vandalized, and then their own managers and unions not supporting them. It's disgusting. Why don't we put all of our resources into defending what we've got? Helping our veterans stay off the streets, getting people the drug treatment that they want. And I know not all homeless want to go into a house, but understand, if you're gonna be homeless and walk around with a machete, you need to not be on drugs, having psychotic breaks, and all of a sudden being super territorial when you decide in your completely demented mind that you're going to treat the kids' playground as your objective in this fairy tale land that you live in. You can't just start hacking everybody to death in the mall. Like, if you're gonna walk around with a knife, you can't be having like psychotic breaks. There was like 2 in a row in Australia the other day, and they were like, "There's no reason to believe that this had any motivations of anything. He was just having psychotic breaks." But he attacked almost exclusively all women? I mean, come on. Don't you at least want to like look and see like why he decided to just attack all women? And I don't care like what race or ethnicity or gender or whatever, like don't tell me that it was just like a weird coincidence that he just attacked all women. People shouldn't be around like that, and if they can't be rehabilitated, they need to go night-night. And if people can be rehabilitated, then they need to have all their freaking rights restored. Like, let's get back to like an actual functioning society instead of what I heard in I don't know, these numbers are a little funky, but they're estimating by the most recent numbers that I think in 10 years, here coming right up, they will have spent something like $1 billion just in one city on just homeless, and they can't account for any of it. $1 billion. They can't account for any of it. Like, $1 billion. One city. They can't protect their people. They can't stop the street takeovers. What are they doing? There was like 2 or 3 shootings yesterday. They were in the middle of the day. Some dude got beat to death in like the middle of the day. All in like one day there. It's like, what is going on? And so you've got to be ready to defend yourself, and you can't have it in the back of your mind that everybody's going to think that you're going to overreact, because I don't think people know why they're paying taxes anymore. What is it getting you? And then they just take more of your rights away, and they trying to take magazines away and stuff, and it's like, guys, just leave us alone. Use the tax money to fix everything, please. And so Washington gun law had somebody run some metrics, and they were talking about mag sizes and how there's just like, I don't know, 1 billion plus or something magazines over 10 rounds. And I think if you I bet you if you don't count mags for pistols that don't have 10 rounds anyway, like LC9s and XTESs and all the subcompacts and stuff, I bet you almost every mag is like over 10 rounds. And then they're probably somewhere between like 17 and 30 rounds, and yet those are almost never used in anything except for self-defense, or just people lawfully carrying them every day and them not doing anything. But at least people could defend themselves, but they want to take away everyone's right to defend themselves, and it's just really stressful. I don't know. Everyone just needs to leave each other alone, though. I mean, everyone's trying to like eke out a living, and they do their side jobs, and I just hope everybody leaves each other alone. Oh, Livingston, man. There we go. That was his name. That's in. I knew I'd remember it eventually. I really like those guys. I've really been going out of my way to find new YouTubers, new streamers that that are on the ground level of all this, that haven't been corporatized. I'm all for people making money, but one ad's fine. When your YouTube video is like 4 ads, I can't deal with it anymore. Especially when YouTubers like say they're gonna work on content and they never do. So it's 1:35 in the morning. I kind of want to talk about Civil War stuff, but I don't have a lot of time left because it's getting late/early. Yeah, the Civil War movie came out. I haven't seen it yet. I heard it kind of just exists. I write about that a lot in my books. It's kind of the core of my books. I think that a lot of these places get it wrong. Similar to The Purge, they just kind of get it wrong, and they can make like spectacle, but they don't get to like the root of it, which is everybody wanting to find their own little village and just be left alone. And it's not along race lines or gender lines or anything. It's just about who can coexist. Who can coexist together? Who's going to be tolerant of each other, and who's going to be accepting? Who's and most importantly, like, who's compatible? You know, I started watching Jericho as well, and I like it, but it's super formulaic, and it seems like somebody that went through all the FEMA training wrote it, because every episode of Jericho is sort of like a chapter in the FEMA guide, which isn't bad. I'm like, but it's just like, wow, did someone from FEMA write this? Because this is perfect. And reality is not going to be like that. Like, you could end up with somebody on your team that's a furry. You could end up with somebody on your team that's a trans, or any other number of identities, you know, a juggalo. You know, you could end up with any ethnicity on the planet. Like, you don't know. It's, you have to just, that's what like true diversity is. It's the fact that we're not defined by what we look like, you know? Anyway, you could have a gang member in your group. You could have someone who used to be a supremacist of one ethnicity or another, or an extremist of one extremist of one end or the other, up or down. It's just like, can everybody coexist and be on the same page and put their stupid little nuances aside for the greater good? The greater good. No, not the greater good. The greater good. It's like, can you realize, you know, that you have just so much in common that your weird little ticks and hiccups, can those things be put aside without you having to feel like you have to keep reminding everybody that you disagree on stuff? Like, That's really it. Like, that's why families are so divided. You know, because grandma or grandpa or little Susie or whatever has to keep reminding everybody that they're a vegan or the climate change or chemtrails or direct energy weapons or building 7 or just the moon landing. It's like, holy shit, get over it. None of those things matter. The past doesn't matter in regards to like having to constantly bring it up. You don't win people to your side or wake, like the whole like having to, you know, blue pill, green, whatever the hell pill people, red pill people about the moon landing. It's just like, dude, or 9/11. Read this book, it'll open your, man, I don't care. All that shit does is just distract you from starting a garden, getting along with your neighbors, trying to buy local if you can, trying to be productive, try to share and barter and scavenge and salvage and protect your neighborhood and share what works. Like, you know, if there is some way to vote somebody in and overwhelmingly vote them in so the votes can't be fuddled with, go for it, you know. Otherwise, anything outside of that tiny sphere that you're gonna do is just going to be seen as extreme. Because that's the corner that we're backed into. We're backed into a corner where even talking about how things are is considered extreme. I gotta be honest, I don't even know why I'm doing these. It's like, I think 4 people listen to this, and it's almost 2 in the morning, and I could be asleep. I could be getting 2 more hours of sleep. But I feel like there's someone somewhere out there that needs to hear this. And I keep getting told what freedom of speech should and shouldn't be, you know. I know what freedom of speech is. And I know when speech is appropriate and speech isn't appropriate. But I can tell you what, this is an election year. And things are going to get really bad. And you need to trip check. And you need to be ready. And that's going to mean, you know, backing out of situations. If there's a street takedown, if the street's blocked, let cooler heads prevail and, you know, safely back yourself and your family out of there. Like, let cooler heads prevail. When the normies wake up, that's when it gets bad. Okay? You don't want to be there when the normies wake up, because they super overreact. I've been saying this for a long time. We have to be cool and calm and measured and have a healthy range of options and avenues to resolve everything calmly and peacefully and amicably, so that everything can be repaired after after a disagreement, which is usually miscommunication. When the normies freak out, they lose their damn minds. And unfortunately, that's like 80+% of people. And if you don't believe me, these were the people that were going to parks during the Rona and turning people in for not wearing a mask in the middle of the park. And still to this day, there's zero evidence of any transmissions happening outside, so that I've ever seen. So all of the science my ass. Just be calm, be cool, be aware, do your buddy checks, make sure everybody's okay, and just don't do anything stupid. Don't get baited into doing anything stupid. And I think I'm just gonna call it there. It's not the end. We just have to be patient and make lots of food, because food's gonna be really expensive. And get batteries and get solar and practice with your garden. And I don't say these things to scare people or to sell anything, even though I want people to buy my books. And even though I think a lot of the solutions and answers to all this are probably in there, I'm not deluding myself into thinking that I'm going to get any more support than any of the other people that work way harder than I do. I'm not focusing on negativity or outrage baiting. And I do know from city prepping that having cool, calm, collected, rational podcasts gets you absolutely nothing. But I feel like somebody needs to hear this. You're not alone. You don't need to freak out and panic and overreact. You just have to be aware and try to get your garden going. Try to get a modern way of defending yourself that you're comfortable with. And work with your neighbors and try to suss out any neighbors that act like neighbors, but they're actually like just renting and in and out and stuff, and figure out what their deal is. And keep your eyes on the local marketplaces and stuff, because sometimes those people know where to get really good deals because they're out and scrounging around. And people buy overstock, and they go to garage sales and things, and they buy stuff and resell it. And sometimes you can scrounge around and find little scraps of stuff that could help you end up finishing a fence. You just never know. We were at a little sale thing, and my initial thought was, this is all garbage. And there was like half an ammo can and some like fence wire and stuff, and there was even like some boards and things I could have grabbed too, but I was a little overwhelmed. We got like some lamps that like actually work, and so it all seemed like junk at first. But and I mean, they're a little bit different personalities than us, And, you know, I'm not under any illusion that I could trust them at all. But just, you gotta talk to people. And even if they don't act like how you like people to act, and even if some of them are gonna just be downright crabby and maybe even hint like they're gonna try to scam you a little bit, and they're gonna be a really ornery or whatever, you just gotta remember that, like, a lot of these people have never had to change or adapt for anybody. And so you're gonna have to be the one that's like water, you know? You're gonna have to be able to work with everybody until you find your own little village to be in. And that's okay. But cooler heads have to prevail if you're gonna be able to survive when the normies wake up. And I don't know what it's gonna be. I suspect gas is going to keep going up really, really, really bad. And I think that could wake the normies up. And I think that when we start having more power outages, as there's climate refugees and, you know, just giant drains on the grid and cyber attacks, and I think we just gotta be diligent, and we gotta be ready to help each other. You know, maybe you do more in your garden in case your neighbor's garden doesn't make it. You know, collect those seeds so you can trade seeds with people next time, and just focus on community building and being safe and being tolerant, and but being aware. Anyway, I think that's a good place to stop, and I hope everybody hears what I'm trying to say, which is just, we can be peaceful and be okay and get through this and get out in time so we're not enveloped in the storm that's coming. Just don't get distracted with the bullshit. Focus on keeping yourself and your family safe and doing smart, measured things. Anyway, I'm super zonked. Yep, it's that time. I appreciate you all, and like, subscribe, and tell your friends. And why did I say that? That's what that used to be what I used to say. Check out my books and check out my coffee page, and the only way we get through this is together. Bye.